2021, it's wild, and for all the reasons that I don't think you're expecting, all right? Because I didn't think I'd be sitting down streaming Republic Commando off of my PlayStation 5 this year and getting the Platinum Trophy for that. I also didn't think I'd be sitting down here in this studio to talk to you about Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, a staple in the Matty childhood, okay? I didn't grow up with Diablo 2, Diablo 1, these popular computer action RPGs. That was not my style, okay? Your boy had a PlayStation 2 controller in his hand since day one, and because of that, my Diablo was the likes of Dark Alliance 1 and 2 from the Baldur's Gate series. This was an action RPG spin-off, and it comes from Snowblind Studios. Now, for me, they were more well known for Champions of Norrath and Champions Return to Arms, two games that I adore with all my heart. I still have both my copies complete in box in my PlayStation 2 collection. I love these games so much, and I do like them more than the Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance series, but Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance just holds a special place in that nostalgia bone. You know, the one right here that you press and you start spouting out random games like, oh, suddenly I miss Battle for Bikini Bottom, and oh, suddenly I miss KOTOR. You know what I'm talking about, nostalgia bone. So it was just recently announced that Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance is getting a re-release on PlayStation 4, Xbox, and it's coming to Switch later on, and you can play it on your PlayStation 5 and your Xbox Series X. So I wanted to sit down and review this game because I grew up with it. I've talked about it a little bit on the channel in the past, just really in passing. And this was kind of a major release for me. Right before Mass Effect is when it dropped. So I thought, hey, let's fly through this. Let's play it again, see how it's aged, because it's been quite a while. So if you're new here and you like RPGs, you like reviews, sub up. Happy to have you here. We're going to continue to produce more review content, whether we get access early or not. So let's get it started with Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. At its core, it's an isometric action RPG, and it's really my only experience with Baldur's Gate. Now, I've played a decent amount of Baldur's Gate 3, but I sort of swore that game off because I will never, ever taint my view of Larian Studios, okay? They make the best RPGs. I'm just going to let them do their thing, and once it's out early access, then I'll play it. But when it comes to Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, honestly, yeah, that's like my cardinal sin for RPGs alongside Pillars of Eternity. Those are my real big misses when it comes to CRPGs. So I've never experienced them. My only interaction with Baldur's Gate's universe is with Dark Alliance. So it starts off with you walking the streets and getting ambushed, and now you're out for revenge, and the rest is history. You just go off on what ends up being a fantasy-driven adventure, and it's all wild and crazy with a bunch of twists and turns. But I'm going to be honest, I've probably played this game 20-plus times since I've been a little kid, and the story isn't the grab here. Do not expect this compelling tale. What you're here for is action role-playing and loot, but there's just a charm to this game, and I think, yeah, nostalgia speaking a little bit, but it does bring me back to a particular time where this was my jam. You know, Marvel Ultimate Alliance, Justice League Heroes. Then you've got the Champions games. You've got Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, Fallout Brotherhood of Steel. I know that's one that a lot of people don't like, but these action RPGs to me were awesome. I love them, and I'd love to see more outside of Diablo nowadays. With that in mind, the price tag for this 4K re-release is $30. So the major question is it worth it? We'll talk about the actual game itself in a moment, but I need to highlight some really big misses for what is a pretty massive price tag for just a re-release here. Number one is the trophy list. This thing is abysmal, all right? I like trophy hunting and achievement hunting, especially in remasters and re-releases, because it allows you to experience an old product in a new way. I think it brings new life to it. And even if it doesn't for you, there are thousands of people who buy these games just to trophy and achievement hunt. Like, there are so many consumers that just love that. And especially with something like this, which is a sort of, you know, I don't know if people are interested in this kind of release, you want to take that chance and just compile a trophy list. I know it's not hard to do. I know for a fact it's not hard to do. We've talked to plenty of developers before. It's not a hard thing to do. This trophy list is a joke. It's literally just beating the game in 5 different difficulties or something like that. I mean, it's pathetic. There's so many bosses, weapons you can loot, secrets that you can find, conversations that can be had, quests that can be completed. I could have made an easy 30 trophy list for this game in 5 minutes. The fact that this is all we get is really an insult to the game in one way. Now, one of the other major components, and I think that's more relevant to all of you out there, is co-op. This was really played by a lot of people with couch co-op. I always went up to my friend's house and I'd sit down after school and we'd play for about 2 hours until dinner time, and then I'd come home. And so that's what Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance was to me. couch co-op. That's still here in this game. You can still play it with a friend right next to you. But of course, once again, $30, I'm hoping you'll evolve that a little bit more. And I don't mean to review this game on the merits of what's not there, but I think when you look at the price tag, you have to talk about what's missing just as much as what's there. And in this case, there's no online co-op. So I would have loved to experience this with a friend. Hey, that's another idea for trophies. Play the game with a friend. I feel like they played it overly safe and just redid the visuals, which we'll talk about in a sec, because first comes the audio. I mean, you see the game and you go, wow, this looks great. The menus have been sharpened up. The character models look solid. Everything looks clean in this game. It's exactly what I wanted. But then you hear the game. You hear the sound effects. You hear the voice acting. And I know that they'd have to re-record stuff, and that could be a complete bitch, and that would cost them way too much. I understand that. But when it comes to cleaning up the audio, making it sound better, it still sounds like it's coming out of a CRT. It's very scratchy. It's very old.
He gave me this.
And I understand some people may say, hey, there's a charm to that, but it just sounds really bad. And I don't know why they didn't clean it up. Once again, none of this would matter if it was $15, maybe $20, I'd go a little easier. But when you're asking for $30, I think there's a problem there. The bright side is the game looks great. It does look great. You can tell right away it looks great, especially in comparison to its PS2, GameCube, and Xbox release. To me, I played this game on the PS2 a lot, so that's where it's most important to for me. In the terms of what you're going to be doing in this game, it's an action RPG to its very core. So you're going to run around, fight all manner of creature, from rats to monkeys throwing spears at you to orcs. Thieves are going to be stabbing you, and as you kill them, they'll be dropping gold, they'll be dropping loot, which will cycle out what your character has equipped. There are also side quests that you can pick up and complete to earn experience, as well as killing enemies, which will give you experience, and all this will reward you with leveling up. So once you level up, it's as simple as picking your strength, dexterity, endurance, whatever you want to skill up there, and then moving on into your skill section where you can choose things like, for me, I played as a human archer, where there's also the dwarven fighter, there's also the elven sorceress. You can play as any of these, but they all have different skill sets. And what's great about this game is that you can't complete these skill sets all in just one playthrough. So you have to be very smart with how you build your character and what skills you invest in. So for me, I invested in like fire arrows, and it was doing AoE damage, and it was good against particular enemy types. That's one thing I learned when revisiting it, is there's a slight bit of depth here that I appreciated. So when I was fighting the rats and the monkeys of the cellar, I was doing perfectly fine damage with my slashing scimitar. But then I started fighting skeletons and ghouls, and suddenly I wasn't doing as much damage until I took out a blunt weapon, or I used my fire arrows, which would explode and do much more damage in comparison. So it forced me to tinker a little bit with my loadout. So a lot of this is just going into different dungeons, completing quests, recalling, turning them in, and then buying new gear from the storefront. It is very simple at that. And I played this game on hard for the added challenge, and let me tell you, it reminded me of the nut-crunching nature of game design back then, which will be absolutely bringing down the hammer on you. So this game, I knew the exploits right away because I've played this a lot between places to hide for bosses, as well as the jumping exploit, which is really that you move at, I think it's 1.5 times speed compared to anything else in the game when you're jumping a lot. So as the human archer, I was jumping away, turning around, shooting arrows at these enemies that would effectively one-hit me because I played it on hard. And the game is super difficult that way, so keep in mind if you're new and jumping in that this should not be the way you should play the game. But I have to say that this was kind of a good reminder of, I think, how much games have evolved in their difficulty. We still have difficult games, but I think they're reasonably difficult, where this game limits you to a couple of abilities, and especially out the gate, you're very weak. And so you have to really rely heavily on your equipment. And since there isn't a vast skill system or dodge rolling, there's just blocking, attacking, and abilities. You feel pretty much handcuffed, where you cannot fight back as effectively until much later in the game. So overall, the question is, with that out of the way, is this worth a dive for a first timer, and is this worth a dive for a veteran? If you're like me and you've played the game before, nostalgia may win you over, but if it has yet to, take it from me, don't buy this. I'm sorry. I want to see them do better next time, because I hope that they do Dark Alliance 2, Champions of Norrath, Champions of Return to Arms. Bring back these Snowblind games. They're expensive. If you go on eBay and you look at some complete in-box copies, these are not cheap to own for those consoles. And I think it's a group of games that, if exposed to a broader audience, could bring more people in and maybe have a revival of some kind. I would love to see that, because I think Diablo needs a true competitor, because right now it kind of dominates that true action RPG hack and slash loot space. I would just say, if you're a vet though, hold off. I think for $30 doesn't do enough to justify you paying for it, and you can't really experience some of the modern tweaks that could have came with it, like a good trophy and achievement list or online co-op. And I know the game's fine as is, so you could argue otherwise, but I was kind of disappointed with a big asking price like that, what they really put up for the game. Ultimately, while I don't think it's worth your money, I will say that for both parties, whether you're new or old, that couch co-op could be a compelling reason to pick this up regardless of price tag. There's very few couch co-op games out there. It's something that's very under-discussed in gaming, and we don't see it addressed often enough. So if you're looking for a decent couch co-op romp, this is one of them. And it's like I said, childhood milestone for me, or touchstone. It's really, really an important game to me. But I'm just disappointed on the effort level that this one received. I think they could have done a better job. But with that, that's just my thoughts on Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. It's a sharp-looking game visually now. Audio sounds horrible. Trophy and achievements disappointing. Needs online co-op. They should do better next time or charge less money. But it's great to see this game back. I would love to see more from Snowblind's portfolio. I think it's really important that we get more of those games out there. So now I leave it in your hands. Have you played Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance? Have you played any of Snowblind's games, from Champions to the Lord of the Rings titles to Dark Alliance? Let me know. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. Big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the hell out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.